Okay, so the kinetic sculpture project. It's I announced before. There's a group of engineering students that are working on a competition for the spring, where you're basically building a moving sculpture and racing them and seeing which one is the fastest. It's nobody in here is really engineering students. I mean, we got a team working with the smart irrigation project, but I really wish when I was an undergrad that I had done more things like this with the engineering students at Stanford. It's great experience to put on your resume, and they're great contacts to know later in life. So if any of you are at all interested, I put the announcement here on Blackboard. So we'll go to entrepreneurship and information. And if you scroll down to other materials, I've got the announcement here for kinetic sculpture competition. I believe, the first meeting for it is going to be Thursday, November 3rd, 7 p.m. in Psi 3, room 108. So anybody that's interested, the announcement is here on Blackboard with all the information you need. Next thing I wanted to do before going into the lecture was to talk a bit about the continuous improvement feedback. I really appreciate all of you giving me your feedback. So I want to go through that quick and kind of talk about how I can address it. Hey, Eduardo. Okay. So I've color-coded everything in here to red. Like, some people cross stuff out, but I still thought they were useful comments, so I went ahead and read them. But I put in red things that I'd like to change, but I don't know if I could change it by the end of the semester. Blue are things that are compliments that I'm already doing well. Thank you guys for the positive, good vibes. And green are things that I can definitely change and do before the end of the semester. So I feel like class participation is important, making sure everyone in class participates more, asking for personal examples. I'd love to do that. I need to... There's a certain amount of preparation on my part that I have to do to call on the right person. Like, if I just stop talking right now, does anybody want to speak up and say something?
I would tell you to keep talking.
Yeah. See, a lot of times if I stop and just ask for comments, there's a lot of crickets chirping, and I hate to have crickets chirping, so I usually keep talking. I need to talk less and listen more. So in order to make the discussion good, I have to do a little bit of preparation. I don't know if I'm going to have the time to do that, but I'm going to try my best. And please, anybody, you are always welcome to raise your hands in here and ask questions. Just because I'm talking doesn't mean that I don't want you to participate. So please, I will try to prepare some questions to ask you from your personal background, but you are welcome to do that proactively and just raise your hand and comment too. Antonio, hey. So I believe Professor Wood's approach to teaching is a great way to get hands-on experience. Definitely need more pressures. Thank you very much for that compliment. I'm gonna be humble and not read off all the things that were compliments. If it's in blue, it means that it's already good. Thank you very much for those comments. I think Dr. Woods does a great job of keeping the class enthusiastic, but something that could help is bringing in local business owners willing to share the story of how he or she might have gotten started. I'm going to do that. I don't know if you guys remember in the syllabus, pretty much the last month of the class is going to be guest lecturers. So I've already talked to two that are potential. One is a panel of marketing experts. The other one is a software development guy that I know who I went to the MBA with. I'm going to talk to other businesses around town too, so we will have guest speakers come in. We just haven't gotten to that part of the semester yet. More blue stuff, thank you. How could I improve the intellectual challenge of the course? Make sure the class projects are challenging and the project leader provides the group with the information so the groups can do their part. I think from the comments that I got, like most of you like the projects that we're working on and like to have this hands-on experience. I mean, these are real projects. They're not like academic, no pun intended, projects. These are real projects that we're trying to make real businesses out of. And it's hard to plan ahead to have everything organized for a real project. Real projects are messy, they're unpredictable, and you have to change with them. That being said, I do think like 12 people on the irrigation project is too big. I needed to like make smaller groups or at least organize you guys into mini teams, but I didn't know that ahead of time, you know. So I agree. This next one here, I believe forming smaller groups would help with the intellectual challenge offered in the course because students would have designated jobs on their projects. Having a large group makes it feel very disorganized. I agree. I feel disappointed, stressed that I'm not giving you guys enough guidance. I have 14 different projects between this class and my Management 3450 class that I have to manage, and there's a lot of moving parts. So I am continuing to try to get better at that. I appreciate the comment. I'm going to try as we go forward with the projects each week to give each person or each group of, like Abby and Anna, and then, Gang will have this task, and Bernice will have this task, and Mohammed will have this task. I'm going to try to actually assign stuff each week so you have a little more structure. I'll do that as well as I can. Sometimes I don't know what needs to happen next. I need to sit down and look at the project and think, So I'll do that as much as I can. Smaller groups are assigned duties. This next comment was similar to the last one. I will try to break that up more going forward. No suggestions for the grading system. No suggestions for the syllabus. Thank you. I'm glad. I'm glad that somebody feels like I'm prompt and timely. I personally have felt really guilty that I still haven't given you your LinkedIn comments. I have that scheduled for Sunday this week. It's tremendously time-consuming for me to go through 120 different students and give comments on your professional plans and on your LinkedIn profiles, but I will do it. Believe me, it's going to get done. And thank you for saying that you feel like I am on time. I personally am dissatisfied that I haven't gotten that back to you already, but it takes a lot of time. So thank you for that comment there. Looks like my office hours and communication are okay. How could I improve the clarity and helpfulness of my explanations? Suggestion would be to make sure that the project leaders stay on top of communication. So again, Stephen, I had said to you guys, I think it's really important to have the update each week, even though you may assume everybody knows what's going on. It's just helpful for everybody to have that update. To the extent possible, I think I've sent every group in here now an update email from me. I would love, to the extent possible, to assign group leaders and have you guys do updates each week for me too. Let's see what we can do to organize the groups better going forward. I'll do my best, and any suggestions you guys have, I'm happy to hear as well. Enthusiastic group leaders, so this is similar to the one above. I think that it's necessary to explain the assignments better before we have to start working on them. It's difficult to understand what is desired for the project because everyone has a different project, and I feel like the guidelines do not particularly refer to or apply to every project. That's totally true. They don't. And it's the more that I make the guidelines the same across projects, the less realistic it actually is. Like, so I just had a conversation with a friend of mine about how could I organize the projects better, and I think I'm going to try to have a more of a like rubric for you guys of exactly what I want you to do for each assignment. But it's hard to do because sometimes some parts of the rubric are not relevant for Baywatch, but they are relevant for 24-hour fitness, and they're not relevant for the irrigation project, but they are relevant for Shout. And I'm going to try better to have some rubrics for you guys, so I will try to do that. How can I be more supportive? Looks like I'm doing pretty well there, except for having control within larger groups. Groups may become too large for some students to individually control, so some support would be welcomed there. Again, I feel your pain. I am not satisfied either with the size of the groups. I think the Baywatch group is a little bit too big right now, and I think the irrigation project group is a little too big, and I am responsible for getting to you guys and helping you to organize better, and I'm going to try my best to do that, okay? So I understand the message, and I will try my best to address it. And then, what could I do to be one of the best instructors you ever had? Some of you guys want me to run for president. I appreciate that. I think it would be fun to run for president one day, but I'm in no way, shape, or form in the position to do so right now. So, but thank you for the vote of confidence. Huh? I need considerably larger war chest to run for public office, but Valente, it has crossed my mind.
I think if Jill Stein could do it, you could too.
Yeah, but if I run, I want to win, man. And no offense to Jill Stein. I mean, she's a great like public figure to stick up for the Green Party, but there's no way she's getting elected. So
She's the best Green representative in decades.
Oh, I agree. She's great, but if I were to run for office, first of all, it'd probably be more like state assembly or
Well, you got to start.
maybe mayor after Karen or Kyle are finished.
I think Karen's gonna take that.
We'll see. Anyway, so thank you all for the comments about continuous improvement. I will do my best to address everyone that I can by the end of the semester.
Class dismissed.
No, I got a lecture. I got a lecture to do, and then class is dismissed. So, going down to the course documents section here.
I saw none of my suggestions on there.
Did you write them?
Yes.
I did
Most
not.
of mine-
I did not delete anything.
Most of mine said "Keep up the good work, Doc,"
Well, then they're in blue.
but I saw none of
I
mine on
posted
there.
a little picture of Bugs Bunny that was
You sure you put them on this one and not the 3450?
No.
Okay. I didn't delete. I didn't delete anything. I promise.
Okay. Maybe I just put them on the 3450.
It could be.
I apologize.
I'm going to go through that in 3450. So if you still don't see your comments, then
Then figure
give
out
them to
why.
me again.
Yeah. Most of them were "Keep up the good work."
Okay.
so-
Well, thank you. Okay, accounting and so we're going to go over accounting and financial analysis this week, and then Thursday we're going to have more group work. Next week we'll talk about implementation plan, and then again Thursday it'll be group work, and next couple of weeks we're going to have lecture Tuesday, group work Thursdays. So going to the accounting and financial analysis lecture. and waiting for a long time while it opens.
That's okay. I'll be right back. Is it S. Tomlinson .shout?
Yeah.
Okay. Then yes, that's my shout email.
Okay, well, it should be there.
You should check it. Just go to the first one that says shout.
I wish I knew why this thing is sometimes slow and other times not.
It's a piece of crap.
Does it with way too.
It could be. I mean,
It's literally like the complaint of every professor.
It's probably because they don't clean it after time. So you have to clean them
it
up.
could be. But I mean, the only other file that I have open is the recording software. It shouldn't be this slow.
I'll bet it's some kind of background.
It could be.
I'll bet it's probably running off of a server, so it's all going off one cable.
I wouldn't be surprised. So, slides from the beginning here. There we go. Thank you. How many people in here have collected money on a website via PayPal before? Maricela, what? I think you actually raised your hand in the other class to tell me this story too. But anyway, tell these people haven't heard it, so.
Did I? Well, what story did I share? No, it's gonna sound funny, but I lived in San Diego for a very long time.
Uh-huh.
I still am, because it doesn't seem like it, because I never wear anything anymore. But I love like antique jewelry.
Uh-huh.
And I used to be like the biggest hunter of antique jewelry ever. And then to get rid of it and kind of like recycle my own jewelry, I opened a little Etsy store. And
Yep.
I just set it all up, explain everything, have to set up PayPal, and yeah, that was a cool hobby of mine that I did.
So you set up a PayPal account that was linked to your Etsy account so you could sell the jewelry.
Yeah.
Cool. So for the rest of you in here that haven't done that before, it is really easy to collect money online. So up to a couple $1,000s per transaction, you can pretty much set up a PayPal account in about 10 minutes. Put a little button on your website that says pay here. People click on that button, type in their credit card information, and PayPal will collect the money. You don't need any credit background whatsoever. If you want to collect larger payments than $1,000 or $2,000, $5,000, I can't remember what the limit is. Higher payments, PayPal requires a bit of a credit check, but for payments up to a couple $1,000s, you don't have to have any credit check whatsoever. It takes about 10 minutes to set up. You put a little button on your website that says pay here, and it allows people to enter their credit card information, and basically that money is transferred to your PayPal account. You link your PayPal account to your checking account, and you transfer the money out of your PayPal account to your checking account whenever you want. So if any of you in here wanted to collect money on PayPal, if we started now, by the end of the class, you could collect a credit card payment from me. Like, I'm not really in I'm not in a position to pay you guys anything right now on my credit card. It's a little bit maxed out this month, but like, it's that easy. By the end of this class, you could collect money from somebody on a credit card. It's that fast and that easy. So businesses that have, or individual entrepreneurs that have good enough credit ratings can actually get other transaction processing software as well, kind of like TSYS, Merchant Warehouse, Advanced Payment Solutions are some of those companies. It allows you to collect larger amounts, and the cost is less, easiest and fastest. PayPal is also, however, the most expensive. So all of these vendors basically charge a fee that's a few percentage points of whatever your transaction is. PayPal, I think, is 5 or 10%. Valente, yes.
When you donate on PayPal, they have a checkbox that said, it prompts whoever donates. It's like, PayPal charges this much money for the donation, and if you click on the box, you have the option of either paying that for them.
Yep.
Or they take it out of however much you donate.
Yep. I think that's actually an option on regular payments too, not just for donations. But yes, PayPal takes about 5 or 10%, I think. It's steep compared to any other credit card processing fee. But if you're just starting up a business today, and like my business, I couldn't believe when people like I went out and started selling my third-party sales service, my Market Driver, my second company. I was blown away when somebody said yes. I said, you don't like making cold calls? I'll do it for you. You pay me up front. I'll get you your leads. And they said, yeah, okay. Where do I sign up? Well, I don't know. Yeah, you got $500 in your wallet, or you want to write me a check? No, I didn't realize it first, so I went in and set up a PayPal button on my website, and just like that, I'm taking credit card payments from people. So it's really easy to do. It's expensive though, so if you start collecting more and more money online, you're going to want to move to a vendor like TSYS or Advanced Payment, because PayPal is really expensive. But anybody in here could collect credit card payments within an hour by setting up a PayPal button. So I've listed here a chart with some of the vendors that do this stuff with pricing and comments. Yes, Derica.
I haven't used any of the other vendors, but I'm just PayPal. But I know that with PayPal, I could simply say I didn't receive it, and PayPal takes the money back from the vendor like that. So do you know if those other sites do that as well? Because I've noticed that a lot of people have been having a lot of problem with PayPal just giving the customer their money back.
And not giving you the product back? Yeah, it's been a couple years since I was collecting money on PayPal, and I was collecting money for a consulting service, so there was no product. It's just a service. But it was possible for people to try and reverse the transaction. I think each transaction vendor has a different policy in that regard. But it's a legitimate issue that I think. I'm not sure the latest details with PayPal, but I think some of these other vendors, you can probably have you can either have a set time frame or a dollar amount above which full refund is not possible, and you just have to set up the preferences with them correctly to begin with. Revenue and cost estimates. So something we haven't gotten to on any of your projects yet, but we will eventually, is starting to estimate what are the financials of this venture. So, Garrett is starting to come up with various stuff for the cost estimates for the Smart Irrigation project. We'll continue working on that going forward, but as we get towards the end of the semester, we're going to start doing some more revenue and cost estimates and some financial projections for your ventures. And, profit is basically revenues minus costs. Revenues being what customers are reasonably willing to pay, and costs are all of the expenses you could possibly imagine having to spend money on. So one of the big problems that most startup companies have, and I had this problem with both my companies, Avenue 2 and Market Driver, is basically that revenues are way too low and expenses are way too high. So when you're doing financial projections and estimates, I highly recommend that whatever you think your revenues are going to be, you should take a fraction of that and plan based on a fraction. So if you think you're going to make $1,000 a month going forward, change the estimates and make it $100 a month or $200, and see if you can make it work by that. Because there's going to be problems that come up invariably. So whatever you think realistic revenues are, bless you by the way, do it. Think of a fraction of those revenues and see if you can still make things work. Whatever you think your expenses are going to be, double it or triple it, and you're probably going to be more in the ballpark of what's realistic. I was blown away with both of my companies, just how many different costs came up that I wasn't expecting. It's unbelievable. So whatever you think the revenues are going to be, estimate less than that. Whatever you think the expenses are going to be, estimate considerably more than that. And then two other things to think about. The business is going to consume almost, if not all, of its own revenues. So, Shout may, the Shout project's doing pretty well, being organized and getting going and everything right now. Like, if you are lucky enough to bring in some revenue from the cooperation with Jessica and all that, like, it probably will cover your expenses. But like a salary for Steven, salary for Haley, salary for other people to actually pay your bills and have this be your full-time job, that money's not going to be there. Especially when the venture is new. You have to one of the I think the biggest mistake I made with both of my businesses were profitable. They were good businesses. But I quit my day job and I worked 100% on the business and I had no other source of income. And my businesses were not big enough to pay all my bills. That's the problem. So it's critical that you still have a day job, that you have a job on the side to pay your bills. And it's critical that if you're really going to go forward and start a new venture, you need to make sure that you can bring your expenses of your monthly, your rent, food expenses, telephone, etc. You got to bring your expenses down as low as you possibly can. And you got to have some other source of income, whether it's waiting tables or doing some part-time accounting work or consulting or whatever. The important thing to remember is that the business is going to eat up all of the revenue that it brings in, and it's not going to pay you a salary when it's first starting out. And then finally, it's going to consume almost every penny that you can beg, borrow, or steal from anywhere. So think ahead about all of the expenses you could possibly have, and I think Shout's done a good job there of making a list of all the different bureaucratic expenses and so forth. Because once you realize how much it is, then you realize you got to go out and find where the hell you're going to get this money. If you don't know what those expenses are, then you can't go out and start asking people for money. So very important to think ahead about your capital acquisition plan. Revenue and cost estimates. Another thing we haven't done in this class yet that we're going to start doing soon is putting together customer vignettes for different types of customers for each of the different ventures in here, and you want to make sure that you have enough customer vignettes that you're able to estimate enough revenues. Like, if you've only talked to one potential customer, well, in one segment, your revenue estimates are going to be really limited. You need to talk to multiple customers, different types of customers, and put together profiles for each of those so that you have some diversified estimates for your revenues. And so all of your revenue estimates are going to be based on the pricing that people told you when you interviewed them. So basically, I started over the weekend finally reaching out to different contacts that I know that you guys can talk to and interview. So Shout is actually already talking with Jessica. Eventually, I'm going to talk to various bureaucratic people I know so that you can start talking to the agencies that need to approve various things. Jonathan, for example, for your car hauling app, I just talked to, in addition to the CarMax folks and your dad's own company, I just talked to two friends that I know, one back in Cincinnati and one in Ontario, Canada, who have car dealerships, and I think can give some good input on, I'd like to see this with the app, I'd like to see that with the app. This is how much my company would be willing to pay if it all worked really well. Who else did I reach out to? I just sent an email to somebody about Ghostwatch. So I'm starting, so Kent Stenderup, for example, is going to be the first contact that the irrigation people talk to. I'm starting this week to contact people that I know that you can interview as potential customers. Okay, so you guys are going to interview them, and you're going to fill out a kind of a questionnaire about different questions. Vigilante, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, what was the person's name?
Kent Stenderup. But I'll email you again as soon as I've talked to him. So that's going to be the first contact there. I think I'm also going to put you in touch with the contact named Monica Cervantes at Wonderful Company as well. Yeah. So you're going to interview various customers. You're going to ask them some questions, one of which is, how much would you pay for this if you were to go forward with being a customer? And then you're going to make your revenue and cost estimates based on what those customer interviews were. So I'm starting to talk to the contacts this week. By next week, you can start interviewing them. And that means by the end of October, beginning of November, well, let's say by the middle of November, you should have enough information from the customers that the second half of November, you can start putting together some revenue estimates for what the venture might make in the future for revenues. What are all the possible expenses you might have to spend money on? I've listed a lot of things here that you might not have thought about for variable costs, both raw materials and labor, including payroll taxes and benefits. When you first start out, there's various ways to do things cheap, but as soon as you actually hire somebody, you really have employees, you got to pay payroll taxes, you got to pay benefits of some kind. It's not just how much are you going to pay them per hour. There's more to it than that, and you got to remember that when you start hiring employees. Marketing costs, brand development, advertising. I was really blown away by how much networking costs. So for both of my companies, there was a lot of sort of schmoozing that I had to do to meet the right customers and have conversations and stuff. And, I'd blow $50 on drinks and food here with meeting the first meeting. I'd spend $50 on gas round trip to drive someplace for another meeting. Like, that really adds up. And it's important to estimate on the high side how much money you're going to need for schmoozing and travel, especially when you're starting a new venture. Overhead costs like office space, utilities, telecom, internet access, information systems, R&D, training and development, IT services, accounting services, legal services, they all cost money. So it's better to go and find, okay, $200 an hour for a lawyer. Probably I'm going to need at least 20 hours of advice from lawyers for in the first year of the company. So 200 times 20 is $4,000. So that's $4,000 that I'm going to have to plan on for legal costs, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So if you, excuse me, you really want to use this list here to estimate on the high side what your expenses might be, and then we can use that to go out and start looking for capital. So better to estimate on the high side than the low side for your costs. Revenue and cost planning tools. I've got a spreadsheet that I've attached to this this presentation here that is a good example of how to do financial planning. SCORE is short for Service Corps of Retired Executives. It's basically it's a group of retired former executives who volunteer their consulting service for free for small businesses. So they've got a lot of good financial planning tools on their website. Our Small Business Development Center has some good webinars on financial planning as well. And then Google, if you just do a search, can also provide you with some good financial planning tools. So let's see here. Ratio analysis, I think, is the tail end of that. So I'm going to pull up the spreadsheet that I wanted you guys to take a look at. How many people in here are accounting focus in your degree? Wow. Maricellus, I think you're the only one that raised your hand. Okay, so you're familiar with the fact that there's 4 major types of financial statements. How many other people in here are familiar with the fact that there's 4 major types of financial statements?
Everybody.
Not me.
Okay. Well, not everyone. So, Valente, what are they?
Balance sheet, financial statement, income statement,
Other one.
Statement of cash flows, income statement, balance sheet, and statement of shareholder equity. So this spreadsheet that I've put together helps you to calculate these things relatively easily. So let me scroll down here to the right place. So as soon as this document opens, man, that's not the one I wanted anyway. That's what I wanted. Okay, there we go. So, as a quick crash course or crash refresher course, as it were, because you've all had this in your accounting classes, like I said, there's 4 major types of financial statements. There's the income statement, the statement of income statement, or there's the statement of cash flows, the income statement, the balance sheet, and the statement of shareholder equity. And I mentioned them in that order because you basically use each of them to compile the information that you use on the next one. So I've listed here, you'll notice various revenues listed here, various costs listed below. So the statement of cash flows is literally everything that every time you received cash in, every time you paid cash out, you just record it. So, October 18th, paid $20 for office supplies. October 31st, received customer payment of $5,000 for contract for next month. It's literally every line item, every piece of money coming in, every piece of money going out. And it has categories attached to it, like, if it were Baywatch, menswear is going to be a category, women's wear is going to be a category, accessories is going to be a category. If it's Shout, it's probably going to be different grant sources. So grant A, grant B, grant C, federal government, local government, stuff like that. For the irrigation project, it's probably going to be probably different types of farms. So, small scale farm, large scale farms, fixed contracts, things like that. But you're going to have different categories that are attached to each of these line items, and basically, you just add up all of the line items from each category and summarize them in that category in the income statement. So the income statement is a summary of all financial transactions that happened in one year. So it's going to summarize all revenues from category A, all revenues from category B, all revenues from category C, add them all up, and total revenue. So you'll notice here I have some formulas in this spreadsheet which you're welcome to leverage and use for yourself. It's summing the items on this previous page here into one cell, and you'll notice $27,900 was the revenues for Sucre. By the way, this is a bakery company that some of my students back in Cincinnati put together a couple years ago, and I used this as the example of a spreadsheet. You're welcome to use this yourselves when you get that far later in the semester to doing the financial statement projections. So add all that up. Basically, year one, the company made a total of $27,000 in revenues. Then you do the same thing. You add up all of the different types of costs, and they basically had only slightly less than 27. They only had slightly less expenses than they had revenues. So if you subtract one from the other, it's $671 in profit that company made in their first year. And then there's usually a couple of standard below-the-line items that any income statement has. One of them is your interest expense. So that depends on how much debt you're carrying and what your interest rate is. But I've basically put this in here based on 15% interest rate on $2,500 worth of credit card debt. It's pretty common to run up your credit cards as a way to finance your business when you first start, and 15% is actually a relatively reasonable rate for a credit card. A lot of them are like 18 or 23%, 27%. So whatever your interest rate is and whatever you borrowed to start the company, you need to plan on that interest here. And then you're usually going to have a tax payment and some number for depreciation and amortization. After you've gone through and summed up all of that, whatever the total amount of revenue was, you're going to add that revenue to your balance sheet. And the balance sheet is basically a snapshot of how much money you have and how much money you owe at one particular point in time. So December 31st of 2016, that's the balance sheet for that moment in time. And it basically has the normal line items that are in there are cash, accounts receivable, short-term assets, and long-term assets. You'll notice some various comments here that I made describing what is what in this sheet. Liabilities are basically the credit card debt that you owe. And if you subtract the debt from the liabilities, or the debt from the assets, you come up with $7,000 in total value of the company. So take that number, bring it into the statement of shareholder equity, and you just multiply that by whatever the percentage of ownership is of each owner, and explain in the statement of shareholder equity what each owner of the company owns in terms of dollar amount. Those are your basic four financial statements. And I'll be right back. Did you have your hand up or just stretching? Okay. Those are your basic four kinds of financial statements. And as we get closer to the end of the semester, I'm going to have you use this spreadsheet to make financial projections about each of your ventures. Some of the projects are going to get closer to that than others because it really depends on how well we're able to interview the customers first. But assuming that we get some good information from the customers, later on we're going to use this spreadsheet to do financial projections for the venture for the future. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay. Couple last slides and then we'll call it a day. Financial ratio analysis. There's four major kinds of financial ratios. There's profitability, ratios: liquidity, leverage, and activity. And there's dozens of calculations that you could make for each of these areas. The reason why any of this is important is basically as a reality check. There's averages for every industry. So clothing retail has averages that are standard. Software apps have averages that are standard. Irrigation technology has averages that are standard. Nonprofits have averages that are standard. And as a reality check, you want to calculate these ratios for your own company and see if they're close to what the averages are for the industry. If they're not, then there's something about your venture, there's something about your costs, or something about your revenues that's off. Your ratios should be close to what the averages are for your industry. So just in layman's terms, profitability measures, in addition to telling you the profit of the company, will tell you a lot about what the company's business model is in terms of fixed costs, variable costs, and how the value is actually delivered by that company. Liquidity measures tell you about how well a company is able to pay its bills. Leverage measures tell you about they tell you a lot about the hard, concrete value of a company. So a lot of times companies will have a lot of cash at their disposal, but they also have a lot of debt. That's why they have all that cash. So liquidity measures will tell you how much equity is there in a company versus how much debt, and how much of the cash that you have do you have to pay back eventually, and how much of it just is owned by the company. And then finally, activity measures will tell you a lot about when and how cash goes in and out of the company. So those are the reasons why it's important to calculate these things. I've given you a couple of important formulas here for some of the major ones to calculate. For profitability measures, the two most common ones are either gross profit margin or operating profit margin. Gross profit margin is basically your total revenues minus your variable costs, and operating profit margin is all of your expenses, revenue minus all of your expenses, variable and fixed, divided by your revenues. Current ratio is basically all of the current things that you own that are turn into cashable, they're convertible to cash within 1 year. So if I have a 30-year contract, if I am a bank and I own a 30-year mortgage on somebody's house, I can't turn that entire 30-year contract into money now, but I can expect that the next year of that contract is a current asset. Cash that you own, usually tables, chairs, computers, stuff like that are current assets. It's basically everything that you own divided by everything that you owe to other people. And you want that ratio to be 1 or higher. If it's lower than 1, it basically means that if all of your creditors ask you to pay the bills at the same time, you wouldn't have enough money to pay all your bills. You want to have a current ratio higher than 1. But you also want it to be close to whatever the average is for your industry. Long-term debt to equity ratio is basically all of your long-term debt that you owe divided by the total equity of all the shareholders of the company. And then average collection period is the easiest number to calculate for activity. Depending on whether you have inventory and what kind of inventory you have, inventory turn is an important number as well. But some companies, software companies don't really have inventory. So there's no inventory to calculate. And in that case, average collection period is the easiest thing to calculate, and that's basically your accounts receivable. So everything that you're supposed to get paid within the next month or so, divided by your total revenues over 365, and that basically tells you how many days does it take you to collect your receivables. That's a good measure for any company for activity, because regardless of whether you have inventory or not, you can still use that to calculate well. I've also given you a couple links here, BB&T and demonstratingvalue.org, that have more ratios more formulas than you could ever want to use to calculate ratios. And then finally, there are two different ways to find industry average ratio information. The one I recommend is First Research Industry Profiles. If you just open up the First Research profile for your industry, I'll open one up as an example here quick. Or at least I think I will. Okay, it may take too long for this to open up. Basically, First Research, we talked about, it's the same database that you use when you are doing industry research. If you go into First Research, find the report for your industry. There we go. So if I type in like agriculture here, Agriculture and Forestry 2016. So if I open that up and scroll down toward the bottom of the document, financial information, company benchmarks and trends, company benchmark information. This gives you about 2/3 of the way down the report for whatever it is for the industry that you're in. You can find the average ratios for other companies in your industry. So that's the easiest way to find those. We'll get back to that. For some of the projects later in November. But basically, that is the long and the short of accounting and financial analysis. That's the end of my lecture for today. Any questions on that? Okay, so everybody come back here on Thursday, and then we'll split up into groups after attendance and work on group projects here on Thursday.
So on Thursday we have the meeting with Jessica, right?
Do you? I can't remember what you agreed on with her.
I thought we set it up for Thursday.
Just
That's
like,
yours.
thank you.
You're welcome.
This is my last class.
Okay.
I was working very hard. So what I do is I don't have Friday here. It's just 4%. I just tried this one. I just tried this one.
Yep.
So this one exactly. I forgot what you said. So they have to follow this.
So take this, move it over to this side, and say,
Because I was trying to.
yeah, here. Can I? So just make sure it has the crosses like that, and then
Okay.
pull like that. And then
Still there.
12:30.
Okay.
So
make sense?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay, so on this side, I want you to say general activities. On the other side, I want you to say, gardening activities, and put these on this side.
All these.
Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yes. And then
Yes.
Publish
Save
it?
and publish.
appreciate it.
No problem. Jennifer, what's up?
I was wondering about how you were like make a forma, whatever budget sheet thingy. I don't know how to do that or what to do with that.
Oh,
What do I
for your
for myself.
yeah.
Like,
It's basically just planning. What are your monthly expenses?
okay.
And I want you to plan like
For making.
I think I said for your photography studio,
yeah.
right? So-
Should I make it so like I'm like planning. Do I have to put like my?
Derek, let's shoot. Sorry.
No, it's okay.
Since you got to go to your next class, let's shoot for. It's 5:10 already right now.
That's fine. Just some of the stuff that you sent, actually I did, and I noticed 3 times I deleted like the lookbook and all that, and it keeps coming back. So now I deleted it, and then I looked again, and it's gone. I don't know if it's going to come back. But the first time I deleted it, no one else was on Wix. He wasn't on Wix, and it came back, and I saved it. Yeah.
Can you, like, if you go to the bottom of the, sorry, I'll finish in 1 second. If you go to the bottom of the page, or like, actually, no, if you go to the upper right-hand corner, there's like a question mark for help. There's not a phone number you can call, but you can actually send a message to Wix. Can you guys send him a message and say, yeah,
because he did the same thing. He's having issues too.
Send them a message and say, hey, we tried to delete the lookbook page and it keeps coming back, and see what they say.
Even the pictures.
Yeah, like, it's just some of the stuff isn't saving, and we're not in it at the same time.
Send one of the two of you, send them a message to the help function and see if they can answer why it's happening. Okay. Okay. Cool. That's the next step. Yeah. Yeah. Can I answer her question first? Okay.
Yeah. So like, do I have to put my income on there, like, or my income that I'm hoping to be having from it, or what do you want me to do?
The most important thing is what do you expect your expenses to have to be in the future? You know, are you going to have to buy a new camera equipment? How much are you going to have to spend on like networking and advertising? I want a list of what you think your expenses are going to be.
Okay.
And then,
so just like a list, basically. It doesn't have to be in any specific format or anything.
No, just a big old list of expenses. You can make one for monthly expenses and one for like one-time expenses, and send me the list.
Okay.
Or show me that you made the list. I don't need the list. I don't need to have the list. I just want to know that you did it.
Okay.
Because, you know, if you add up all those numbers and you realize, crap, like the total is $15,000. Well, sometime between now and 2 years from now, I got to find $15,000.
Yeah.
That's why I want you to do it.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yeah.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah. I just wanted to like make sure before I did it.
I want you to make a big old list of expenses. Just show me that you did it, and then you get credit for that part of the assignment.
All right, sounds good.
Cool.
Thank you.
No problem. Aziz, what's up?
Yes, I just have a question. How do you need the things that you made us?
Which things? In the email that I sent?
Yeah.
Try to send me an update by the end of the weekend. Okay? No problem. Lauren.
For competitive research, you say to go to the LexisNexis thing.
You're gonna have to use ProQuest.
Okay, so it wasn't on the library.
Our library canceled our frickin' LexisNexis subscription.
So just go to the ProQuest one. Okay, and then can you read this and tell me
why
if it
in
sounds
the
okay?
hell would they do that?
Yeah, change it now.
So if you go to ProQuest, search on the name of the company.
Okay.
And then you'll have various search results. One of them will be Experian profiles or Experian report. That's the one you want for the like revenues and address and contact information of the company.
Okay, and then what should I put in? Car towing software, car hauling software, or?
It's gonna be tough. I would go to Google, type in logistics software, and just you have to like surf through 2 or 3 pages, see what you find.
Yeah, I found for the other research, I found some of the websites for that, so that's okay. And then can you read this really quick and tell me if it sounds okay?
The beginning or the whole thing?
No, just the beginning.
Okay.
They said it sounded okay. Is it bad for me to put assistant?
No.
I need to switch those, but okay.
Quick question on that. What else do we need to do on it?
Can I?
Of course.
I take that comma out.
No, but I'm saying, like, I'm just gonna do it. Yeah, I wouldn't worry about them.
And I'm gonna miss next class. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay. That says and shows.
Okay. Excellent.
Take out with.
Attention. Okay. And shows
So
it.
comma. Take that comma out. I have been described as being simple with strong abilities to develop positive image. Yep, okay. I would actually put here. Let's see here. I would actually put like a sentence at the beginning.
Well, he added that same picture to his page.
Of this?
Yeah.
Okay.
There is a picture on the features.
Well,
That picture on the whole page. But that's okay because once our still
I seen on the
in the video, I'm still lagging.
Sorry. Over 5 years of project-based experience. No, actually, for supervisor. I would start the whole thing by saying I'm a management professional with over 10 years of experience. Period. I am seeking an internship in management or a management assistant position. Da 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 da.
Perfect. Thank you.
No
Appreciate
problem.
it.
Trisha, what's up?
Question real quick.
Yep.
You remember that email that you sent out with like everybody in the classes like different attachments?
Yes.
My attachment won't open.
It won't?
Yeah, I clicked on it so like.
Can you email me
Yeah.
and remind me?
Sure.
And then I'll send it to you directly again?
Cool. Second thing, it's like we're almost done with all our like the edits on our like the website and things
Yep.
like that. What do we do then?
Huh?
What do we do after that?
Next thing after that is going to be
Because like I'm working also on trying to get a meeting with them. Like I emailed them like
the software team.
yeah, I emailed them saying I need this stuff from you guys. They said they're gonna get it to me ASAP. Haven't got it.
I'm going to go, like, I would say, I mean, you may have a conflict. Like, the way to catch and pin down the software kids is to go to their lab on Thursday mornings. 7:20. Like I'm gonna go there on Thursday, and I'm gonna go to each group and say, "Show me your prototype," and I'm gonna make sure that I have phone numbers for the people to contact easier.
Okay.
And hopefully that'll help. But if you're able to come at 7:20 on Thursday,
Where's the class?
It's on the 3rd floor of Science 3. I can't remember the number of the room though. But if you have my cell phone
Okay.
in my cell phone's in the syllabus.
Yeah.
If you text me or call me on Thursday morning, I can tell you which room it is.
Okay.
Make sense? Like, I know that's like a pain in the ass, but that is the way to find the software kids. And the next thing to do after that is to meet with the people from 24 Hour Fitness here locally
Okay.
and see what they think of the prototype and the app.
Okay. Yeah, they haven't even given us like they've just shown us like kind of like what the database looks like, but I don't know how like the app actually works. Like they're not communicating very well. But I understand it's like they're college students and so it's like we had everything go last minute.
This is the first time I've done this.
Yeah.
You know, cooperating across 2 different classes. It's cool.
It's
cool, but it has problems sometimes, and like the communication breaks down. So, easiest way to get back on the same page with them, come Thursday morning.
All right.
Make sense? Yes. And it's 3rd floor of Science 3,
All right.
like at the very end.
Okay.
I can't remember the number, so if you text me, I'll tell you which room number. But
Perfect.
basically, go to Science 3, take the elevator up to the 3rd floor.
Okay.
And then, you know how there's one hallway this side and
Yeah.
one hallway on the other side?
Yeah.
It's this side
Okay.
all the way down at the end.
All the like towards the SRC.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Cool.
It's basically the closest classroom on the 3rd floor to where the SRC is.
Okay. Cool. Thank you.
Valente, what's that? No problem.
My turn, Buggy.
What's up? No, it's not bugging. What's
So
up?
I finished one bit of the competitive profile.
Uh-huh.
I did the ratio one.
Uh-huh.
Anna is doing the other one.
Uh-huh.
So now that I'm done with mine, do I turn it in for you for corrections, or do you want me to help the other team on the industry research part?
No, go ahead and send me what you got, and
You
then...
want me to show it to you?
Huh?
You want me to show it to you?
No, just send it. I don't really want to see it right now. I want to work on it. I want to look at it later this weekend.
Oh, you want to critique it?
Huh?
You're gonna cut it apart and say this is garbage.
No. I just if you want to show it to me now, wait until I'm done and bring it to my office. Otherwise, just email me.
Are you gonna go straight to your office after this?
Yeah.
Well, I'll wait for you then.